what I'm going to show you is the most heavy-duty wheel hoist that's available on the market right now. So I'm the inventor and the manufacturer of this thing, but one of the first things I wanted to start out with is this bolt that we use for the axle here. And I needed something that was really easy to service because I was working with pneumatic tires, and you know, they go flat and you have problems with them. Try to drag an air compressor out to the field, or it just gets miserable really quick. Whereas this, you just undo your axle and pull it off and you've got your wheel free. I'm actually going to drop this and do the exact same with the actual wheel so you can see what I'm talking about. So if I have to service this, I will drop this here and just pull this axle out like that. And I've got a tire that I can take back to the shop and service it. And that makes things so much quicker and easier. Just reduces the hassle of your whole operation overall. The other thing is the type of tire that you can use. What I encountered is I had to use hand truck tires with all the rest of the designs. A little offset tire. The problem with the offset tires is that they're really weak in the center, and anytime you have a side load on this thing, once you're on a hill or something, then those offset tires will break. So I wanted to be able to run a heavy duty wheelbarrow tire or a small trailer tire on here instead. So that's why I made a long axle so that we can get these centered tires that aren't offset, and they'll just continue to run just fine. Another thing that I was dealing with was dry rot issues. Most of the sets you'll see, they'll pretty much, you can imagine, they'll sit like that most of the time when they're not in use. And so your tire is constantly in contact with the soil or the moisture that's in the grass, and moisture kills rubber. Anybody that's ever had any trailers on their farm or anything knows that when you park that thing and you let it sit there for a while, then the part that's exposed to the dirt is what gets dry rotted really bad. I just wanted to keep this thing up and out of the dirt and away from the moisture so this tire doesn't dry rot. Also, if you are in bare dirt, that dirt is going to splash up, the water is going to get back in your bearings here, and you're going to get sand and water both in your bearings, and it's going to eat it up. So this gets it up off the ground and away from all that contamination and away from the dry rot too. Another thing is, because we use such heavy duty bolts, we can put more load on these than any tire that you can buy. So typically your tires are rated for 400 pounds each. A more honest rating is going to say 350 pounds. That's more accurate. These tires here will say 350 pounds when you go to buy them. Some will aggrandize it and say 400 pounds. It's not really capable of that. These are actually capable of 800 pounds per set. And I have not found a set of tires that's capable of that load. So we just overbuild and over-engineer it for everything so that you'll never have any trouble out of your setup. If you have a tire that can carry it, then this set will definitely carry it. Back to the bolt idea though. The reason we run these bolts as an axle is that I can get a high PSI bolt, so I can get a 60 or 120,000 PSI bolt, and that'll actually allow us to run the load capacity way beyond any tire that you can ever buy. So I want everything else to fail before this thing will ever come close to failing, and that's how I designed it. I'll take you into the shop in a minute and show you some of the features on how we weld it and how we build it, just so you can have full reassurance that I know what I'm doing when it comes to manufacturing stuff like this. I've been manufacturing small batch scale ag products for a while, and I've broken everything that I could possibly can to make sure that we have the highest quality product here. Another thing is the lift height. Right here you can see that this is mounted about 8 inches up from the bottom, so we don't lift it too high off the ground. If you have small animals in there, you're not going to want them escaping. But if you're in rough terrain or deep grass or weeds or pasture you're wanting to recover, you're going to want to get a little more clearance down here. And with this mounted at the bottom, you put a little 13-inch pneumatic tire on here, and you mount this at the bottom of your structure. It actually provides 10 inches of ground clearance. So that'll allow all the clearance you need for uneven ground, uneven territory. If you're going through a low spot or something, you're not going to hang your structure on both ends over here. I've got dogs trying to get in the way over here. Here, come here. Come here. Ah, good girl. Come here. She always puts rocks in her mouth, and I wish she wouldn't, because I don't like her biting on rocks. So maybe I shouldn't throw this, but I guess I will to get her out of here. Another thing is the tire size that we can put on there. I needed to be able to have a 13-inch tire because I was looking for maximum flotation. And most of the units that are out there right now only take an 8-inch tire. Of the ones that do take a 13-inch tire, they can only take a 13-inch offset tire, and those are very weak when you get them on a hill. They break almost readily. So being able to put a 13-inch wheelbarrow or small trailer tire on there was really important to me. And these aren't restricted to 13 inches. You can run 8 inches all the way up to 17-inch tires, the biggest I've had on there, just because it's the biggest that I can get with a 5/8-inch axle size. But there is no tire size limit no diameter limit to these wheel hoists right here. So another thing you might have noticed is the 2x4 pocket. I've been using a 2x4 this whole time, and you see that I drop the 2x4 in there and cam it over. There's two features that allowed me to unlock. One is that I can hoist some very heavy structures, and if I don't have the leverage, or if I have a small person or a young person helping me that doesn't have the same strength as I do, we can just put a longer lever in there so they can get the force that they need to be able to lift a heavy structure. The other thing is, when we let it back down, this allows me to be able to rotate that unit about 270 degrees to where I get that tire clean out of the ground and away from the dry rot and the water and the sand and the contamination of the bearings that I was talking about before. So when I pull that 2x4 out, you see how I can take this and get it all the way off the ground and away from all that dirt and filth. Keep the bearings clean, keep them in good service, and your tires are going to last forever. So like we were talking about outside, these come in a right and a left-hand unit, and when you order these, you'll be getting two, one right and one left hand. We build these with regular 5/8-inch bolts so we can keep the hardware as simple as possible and help deliver these for the best price point. We don't need to be using all sorts of custom hardware and trying to create something when it's already available off the shelf. We get these in, weld the tab on the top here, rubber dip them, and you'll have a nice serviceable unit. Make it really easy to service your tires if you ever have to. Another thing I think you'll be interested to see is this pocket that we use for the 2x4. And this is the base, this is the frame for our unit, but it also serves as the pocket that we can drop this 2x4 into, and it just goes in like that. And this now is our lever. That's how we cam it over. Another thing of a little interest is the mounting configuration. And I put more holes in here than necessary, just so that you have a little bit of flexibility depending on how your structure is built. I just use the lag screws and screw them straight into the 2x4, but if you have a different configuration where you've got to through bolt it, or you've got a little bit of a challenge as where you need to mount it, then you can just use any one of these holes here. You need a minimum of 2 bolts to be able to install this to have proper rigidity here, but any 2 of these that you manage to get anchored in will give you good rigidity. All heavy duty 3/4 inch solid rolled. Some of it is cold, some of it is hot rolled depending on where we put it. Fully welded on every dimension. We have this fully welded across here and down there. If you look, fully welded on the front and on the back. Everything is, we've put as much weld on here as we possibly can to make it as rigid as possible. We actually even put an extra layer of metal on here to give you the rigidity that you need. As I was saying before, this is the most heavy duty part of the whole setup. So your structure can fail, your tire can fail, everything should fail before this thing is going to fail. It's impossible to break this because there's nothing else out there there's no other part of the system that's heavy duty enough to be able to tear up this wheel unit. Make sure you follow this page, because what I'm going to be doing is making a lot more videos and posting them about convenient ways to mobilize your structures around the farm. So whether you have a livestock structure or a chicken coop, where you want to mount that, how to configure your wheels, how to choose a tire and or a wheel for that, and a lot more very handy information whether you ever buy from us or not. There's going to be a lot of things that you want to know regarding the tires and the mobility of your livestock structures and chicken coops that you have around the farm.